My fellow Cameroonians, as we make our entry into a new year, I do make a plea that we all take a brief moment out of our busy schedule to meditate on the fate of our great nation Cameroon that has been so blessed by God with every imaginable type of resources. Back in the 1980s and early 1990s, while I was growing up in Cameroon, there was a great stand-up comedian who was loved by almost everyone. He knew how to use comedy to communicate in very simple way the complex challenges of life. As I began meditating at the beginning of this year on the fate of Cameroon, the memory of this great comedian kept coming to me. And I remembered one of his skits in which, during a blissful moment, he was raptured in a song about the rare beautiful days. Yes, beautiful days were rare at that time in Cameroon. Perhaps the artist in him was not only singing the beautiful days of his personal life experience. Maybe the song was just a prefiguration of what will become of the beautiful days of life in our country. Those beautiful days that were procured to our nation by the inauguration of factories through President Amadou Ahidjo's policies for the industrialization of Cameroon. The remembrance of that song brings back to memory the heydays when thousands of Cameroonians were guaranteed a source of daily bread with each new factory that was inaugurated. In me also, I revived the memories of the heydays of Sosukam, Kamsuko, Simenkam, Alukam, yes, the heydays of Cameroon Airlines, Camship, Sikam, Cameroon Bank, the National Producing Marketing Board, Selukam, Regiferkam, the Sonluglu Dam, and many others. The heydays of the past were not only limited to the inauguration of factories. They also included scholarship programs that were aimed at stimulating our youths to strive for academic excellence. At a more personal level, I very well remember that beautiful day when my principal walked into my classroom to inform me that I was one of the awardees of a scholarship of 13,000 francs CFA for my performance at the Common Entrance Examination. I also remember those heydays of the University of Yaoundé. Although I never had first-hand experience with the heydays of the University of Yaoundé, nonetheless, I had an uncle to whom I was close that was a student at the University of Yaoundé, that is Ngwekele at the time. Through him, I was able to grasp a glimpse of the beautiful days of the University of Cameroon, during which thousands of students were offered monthly scholarships of 25,000 francs CFA. Today, when reflecting on what has become of the beautiful days of Cameroon, which in the past were considered to be rare, one comes to terms with the indisputable fact that they have been completely obliterated for the present generation. My fellow Cameroonians, let it be known to everyone that the problem of Cameroon's economic backsliding and underdevelopment is not due to the lack of good economic policies as those who exploit us will want us to believe. Since its so-called independence, Cameroon has been blessed with a good number of its citizens emerging to the rank of reputable scholars with degrees in economic sciences from renowned international institutions of higher learning. The intellectual worth of these scholars has been tested on multiple occasions by publications of books with detailed economic plans that could potentially transform Cameroon into a paradise on earth. Our bookstores are brimming with publications on national economic salvation plans. Inspired by the positive aspect of President Amadou Ahidjo's economic policy of planned liberalism based on 5 years development plans, and President Paul Biya's initial economic policy of communal liberalism, I am confident in my assertion that Cameroon's underdevelopment is by no way a consequence of the lack of viable economic policies capable of projecting Cameroon into the league of economically developed nations of the world. From what precedes, and if we all agree that the problem of Cameroon's economic underdevelopment is not due to the lack of viable economic policies, it therefore means that the solution to the underdevelopment of Cameroon is not the creation of another economic plan or program. An acquainted observation of the evolution of our country since 1960 establishes the fact that the problems associated to our economic underdevelopment are inextricably linked to the question on the control of our national pocketbook. Who owns our national pocketbook? Who manages our national pocketbook? The answer to these questions will lead to the understanding of the underlying causes of our underdevelopment, comparable to our household microeconomies, where the materialization of personal or family projects are determined by the whims of the person in keeping of the pocketbook, are the macroeconomic principles that bolster the accomplishment of structural and infrastructural development projects by which economic progression of nations are measured. Thus, the greatest handicap to the economic and social development of a country can fairly be linked to the fact that we have no control over our pocketbook, which is barricaded in the services of a subdirectorate of the Ministry of Economy and Finance in France under the name of a transaction account. The French political class in the management of our national pocketbook will never sacrifice its interest over ours. We must never allow ourselves to be naive enough to hope that it will ever happen. Let no mistake be made. My intentions here are not to stir any troubled water against any nation. I just want to be on the side of the defense of the economic and political sovereignty of our nation. In this undertaking, we are justified by the repulsiveness of the one-sided, tenebrously paternalistic relationship between Cameroon and France, in which France has continuously ripped off Cameroon. Historical facts are in support of the necessity for us, patriotic Cameroonians, to stand and defend the independence of our nation, to demonstrate the repugnance to good conscience of the neo-colonial agenda of the French political class against any economic policies that can potentially be beneficial to Cameroon. I bring this example to your attention. At one point during his reign, President Amadou Ahidjo embraced the idea of our economic independence from the neo-colonial paternalistic bondage of France on Cameroon by deciding to open our economy to positive competitiveness that would have ensured that all economic agreements between Cameroon and its foreign partners would safeguard the best interests of Cameroon. Pursuant to this desired direction to safeguard our national interest, in 1965, President Amadou Ahidjo assigned Mr. Augustin Federico Doc, Secretary of State for Finance at the time, with a mission to travel to Paris to negotiate an agreement with our foreign partners for the creation of the Industrial Cotton Mill of Cameroon, known by its French acronym SICAM. Mr. Kodok, upon his return to Cameroon from Paris, and jubilant over what he thought was a successful mission marked by the signature of a partnership with Germans and French for the creation of SICAM, was surprised by Amadou Ahidjo's reaction. Under pressure from France, Ahidjo ordered Kodok to return immediately to Paris and modify the terms of the partnership agreement in order to consecrate the French as majority shareholders of SICAM, to the chagrin of Cameroonian business interest. In this case, as in many other cases, France used her control of her pocketbook, that is currency, to stifle Cameroon's desire to achieve economic independence. Yes, economic independence without which no economic plan or policy would have the power capable of transforming our society into a rich and prosperous society. To achieve any meaningful and sustained economic development of a country, we must be the masters of our destiny. We will never, I say never, become masters of our destiny as long as France continues to control our money through the obnoxious concept of operations account, by which our so-called CFA currency remains under the tutelage of the French Department of Treasury. The biggest challenge that we face today is that of galvanizing our people so that they may stand firm to defend our country's sovereignty. The only way to overcome this challenge is by getting the people to attentively respond to the voices of the true leaders of the people. True leaders whose actions are not determined by political expediency in the anticipation of selfish political gains. We need real leaders who are not afraid to tell us the truth, even when the truth may not be profitable for their personal ambition. The truth here is that we can never succeed in negotiating an exit from the franc CFA from a position of weakness. The position of weakness would be to believe that we would someday out of the blue surprise France with the creation of our own currency. No, that is never going to happen. For the gatekeepers of the France Afrique are not that naive. They have intelligence services that are very well designed to sustain their goal to perpetuate the subjugation of our people. The struggle for the liberation of our people from the French enterprise of subjugating Cameroon can only succeed through the unswerving desire of the people for freedom from neo-colonial subjugation. After more than 130 years, counting from the Berlin Conference of 1884 on the partitioning of Africa between European imperialists, it would be naive today to believe that the path to freedom for Africans will ever be by means of a docile negotiation with the plunderers of the natural resources of Africa. Our problem is not that Africa has never had patriotic leaders. Instead, Africa suffers from the fact that its true leaders have always been victims of the powerful coalitions of the betrayers of Africa and imperial Western European plunderers of the resources of Africa, first through the transatlantic slavery, followed by the colonization of Africa, and now the neo-colonization of Africa. The rebirth of Africa can only be made possible when the people of Africa will unite with their true Pan-African leaders in the likes of Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Sekou Touré, Ruben Umyobe, Roland Felix Mumi, or Nelson Mandela, and I won't forget Zakaria Abendon or Osede Afanda. The grand coalition of the people of Africa and their Pan-African leadership is a force that shall overcome the coalition of betrayers of Africa and their foreign masters who for centuries have presided over the depredation of Africa. People of Cameroon and the rest of the continent of Africa, in the hope of divine protection, I wish you all a happy and prosperous New Year 2016. May God bless you.